Welcome to session 10, Making Peace. And look where we are. We are right at the end of our study program. Let's go back to the introductory video that I created some months ago just to see if we have reached where we said we wanted to reach. I recently published From Genocide to Generosity, stories of hatreds that have healed in Rwanda since the violence of 1994. Amazing stories of how survivor and perpetrator have changed to purposeful and peaceful living. And people who read the book tell me it's powerful. And I've realised that Rwandans can teach us. We too can learn a path to peaceful living. So now I have a dream. I dream of a world where people choose to undermine violence, to transform aggression, to rekindle compassion, to promote forgiveness, to call for justice and civility. Now, how do we find this peaceful path? This book can help, and you'll be assisted by a free online study guide. So what is this study guide all about? Let me use the Agaseki basket, a Rwandan symbol of generosity in a context of peace. This basket represents the goal of becoming a person who's self-aware, who's hopeful, who's just, and who's peaceful. How do we reach that goal? We need to peer inside of the basket. This one represents a person who makes apology and who practices forgiveness. And inside that one is another step, a person who values feelings and who expresses their emotions well. And inside that one, a person who knew pain and who grieved loss. And now, the deepest part of every person, the story that lies within us, our own story. Since 1994, hundreds of Rwandans have experienced these 5 levels of the journey of peaceful relationships. And these steps can enable small groups everywhere and guide us to a fresh understanding of ourselves. So, To Live Well is an online study guide to add value to our lives by telling our story, grieving our losses, expressing our feelings, forgiving others and ourselves, building hope by being just. I imagine a world where we practice relating to all people, where we become peacemakers by being at peace ourselves. Please would you join in our circle of support? Now, your reading was focused on Musabyimana, the man who said, "I will do what I can. I want to rebuild Rwanda to the limit of my strength." After he killed 3 people and was involved in the injuring of many others, Musabyimana said, "My conscience began to trouble me. I lay on my bed and the thought came to me, the skin of my victims is the same colour as mine. I wept, God forgive me. I felt the shame and I chose to tell the truth. I paid a price both in and out of prison because I lost my friends. But I was changed and I chose to start the journey towards peace. Now, in the workshop where he began to find that peace, Buhanda was also present. Buhanda was consumed with anger, especially at Musabyimana. But he also began the journey, and when he heard Musabyimana confess, he said, "I forgive you for what you have confessed." Buhanda said, "This relieved me of much inner pain. Musabyimana has become one of my closest friends, and my first harvest was getting out of hatred." These two men go around telling their story of reconciliation, and it is so powerful. Now, reconciliation is a challenge, and it's rare because it needs both parties to cooperate. Both parties to change on the inside, to change their direction, to change their action. We cannot heal what we cannot feel. So we know that's where the change begins, with the feelings. And there's an outline on the second page of your study sheet of the process from beginning to end. This particular picture here simply shows that for the victim, the journey to forgiveness begins with feeling the pain and seeking healing. For the offender, the journey to justice is about feeling the guilt, recognizing the wrong, seeking healing. Now, this workshop is not just for groups like ours. This study process is for other groups of all kinds. Behind me, the background view is Indonesian. That's where I've spent 12 years of my life. Many people there have suffered but didn't resolve the effects of local and regional conflicts. I'm wearing a shirt from Sulawesi. Sulawesi is one of the larger islands of Indonesia, and I went there in 2008 with a small team to work with quite a large group of people, and what characterised them was they had all experienced violence and conflict, they were struggling with it, and they were from different faiths. So in this photograph there are a Hindu, a Buddhist, some Muslims and some Christians. And one of the ways that we expressed our oneness as human beings was that the prayers each day were led by a different faith group each morning. Some of you will recognise this as the memorial in Bali to the Bali bombing of 2002. Now, that bombing injured over 200 people. It killed over 200 people, including 88 from Australia, 38 from Indonesia, and 20 people from other countries. And a few years later there was a cry from Bali, we Indonesians need help in this island to process some of the pain that we still have. So I went there with others. My job was to share the stories from Rwanda. Ironically, on the second day, this group of young men came to me and said, as Hindus, we are very concerned because a radical Islamic group in Sulawesi has just bombed a Hindu temple. We don't know how to deal with this. We want to talk about peaceful ways to respond because we really are very upset at what's happened. It was even more challenging for those young men when 2 days later our conference went into a village in Bali where Muslims were living and engaged in a Christian-Muslim dialogue with them. But being able to talk backwards and forwards, to open our hearts, is part of this processing of our feelings. Sometimes the feelings become so great that a pain release ceremony is really, really helpful. Here, people share something of their pain, they write down their pains, then they bring them and place them on the fire, and symbolically then it's as if the pain is being shared with their higher power. This ceremony is particularly powerful at night, and you will find on the To Live Forgive website there is an outline of how to run that ceremony, should you wish to do it. Also, helping us express our feelings and our emotions and bring out our pain, we can use drama, art and stories. And of course, culture. Culture is made up of drama, art and stories. Every culture will have something to contribute to the processing of such pain. In Rwanda, an orphan lad was asked to draw his experience, and he drew himself in the centre. And the facilitator asked this lad, "So tell me, what was this lad saying at this time of hurt and chaos and confusion?" And his answer was, "He has no words to express his feelings." Feelings can be expressed in another valuable way, and that is at a celebration after a healing process. Now, you may not recognise the lady with the brown and white dress here and the raised hand, but it's Josephine. The Josephine who has contributed a lot to our learning through this study process. But this was not in 1997 when Josephine and I participated in the same healing workshop. This is 6 or 7 years later. She's now a co-facilitator, and so she is celebrating with the group who have completed their healing event. Also, celebrating the progress towards hope at that time was Jacqueline, here on the left. Jacqueline stood to speak, and she said, "You all know how much my grief has flown in this workshop. The tears have flowed. Sometimes I wore dark glasses. I was so ashamed at the amount that I was crying. But you know, I've thrown those dark glasses away." I also told some of you that 5 times a man had come and proposed marriage to me, and 5 times I had said no. Well, I want you to know, the other day I went back to him and said, "Would you like to propose to me one more time?" And he did, and I accepted. Well, after the applause had died down, Jacqueline went on to say, "My engagement party is next Saturday. I want all of you to come and celebrate this great step forward in my life." I wonder if through this journey you have thought of other people who you would like to encourage to come to such a study. Well, we want to look at an opportunity to multiply the prospects of peace. A celebration is the ideal time to do this, because in a workshop where confidentiality is important, it's just not appropriate to bring person in at any time for just one session. And in fact, it's not really appropriate to bring anyone new in after the first week. But a celebration is the ideal time to welcome them to come and to observe the joy. So today in step 6, talk about what would I like in the celebration, and who would I like to consider inviting them with a view to them coming and doing the workshop in the future. Here's a group from Rwanda, from the same area. They participated in the healing, and then they said, "We have benefited so much. There is so much need in our community. Why don't we come back and be in our community the group that facilitates this workshop?" And so they've been doing that. In this group, there's a doctor, there's a nurse, there's a lawyer, a teacher, some farmers. Just the local folks doing it to share and to benefit their own area. You'll remember in session 1, I stressed the importance of personal care. Now I want to come back to that, but in a different way. And it's this: if you have resolved to make any changes, then you need to start making those changes in the next 3 weeks. If you don't do it by then, it will be like seed falling by the wayside. The birds will come and pick it up. The other thing is that if you want a new practice, a new way of behaving to become part of your personal habit, you need to repeat it daily or reinforce it daily for at least 3 months. There's one other bit of work that I ask of you. The team that I work with needs your feedback. As a group, could you please answer the question sheet that your facilitator has? What impacted me? What is important in this study? Who else could benefit from participating in it? Please remember too that outside of the group, I only talk about my own comments, my own experiences, and not of the other group members, unless a member of the group has given you permission already to tell part of their story, then that's fine. So for step 9 today, I suggest you set the date, the time, the location for the celebration. You also talk about what we'll bring and do. We'll bring another person to come and see. We'll make some short notes of our experiences, of our new intentions, of our new hopes, and anything that we've got that might be suitable to show and tell as part of the celebration event. So to close today, each person can say, what am I feeling right now? What do I want to say to this group? Who will I encourage to participate next time? But we're not finished. I've just got a couple more things to say. You are now in a position to be peacemakers. Each session we've received a sheet which has resources on it. You can copy that sheet and share it with others. We talked about the group being a resource for each other, and we still are a resource for each other because we know each other. So even though we're not meeting, we can call each other when we need to. We have some answers or ideas that release us from the grip of pain, the pain of difficult past events. We can tell others about that. We can share that with them. And we're becoming more self-aware, hopeful, just and peaceful. And that is living well and doing well. And my last reminder is this: listening is the greatest way of loving. Thank you. Our facilitators have shown us that love, and by serving us, they serve the world through us. So, let the peace grow.